ceasefire holds between Hamas and Israel. Now, according to the Gazan medical officials, one person who died was killed by Israeli firing in east of Bureij refugee camp in the central Gaza Strip. The U.S. brokered Gaza Truce, which left issues like the disarmament of Hamas and a timeline for Israeli withdrawal from Gaza unresolved, has been tested by periodic violence since coming into force on the 10th of October. Meanwhile, the United Nations has urged restraint, warning that even small outbreaks of violence could reignite a wider conflict where tens of thousands remain displaced and rebuilding efforts have barely commenced. Joining us on the broadcast is Quinton Hitchcock, international affairs expert from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to us on NewsX World. We've been tracking certain incidents of these firings taking place, airstrikes happening as well in the Gaza Strip. There were also reports earlier of an IDF soldier having been killed in combat in southern Gaza. In the midst of all of this, the ceasefire, which is fragile, is still holding. Donald Trump has made it very clear that the International Stabilization Force will be heading there very soon. There has been a UN Security Council resolution that has been proposed by the United States of America. It is in the works. Countries such as Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, the UAE are all backing this on the ground as well. In your assessment, what can we expect in the coming months as far as Gaza is concerned? We do know that the first round has been relatively successful so far, with hostage prisoner exchanges taking place. But there are larger questions such as the disarmament of Hamas and the withdrawal of Israeli forces, which still lie in limbo.
Well, I think there's two major contributors. I think one, we need to remember that there's quite a bit of political implications to this. Let's not forget what happened, 5 days ago with Democrats in this country basically sweeping victories all across the country in their elections. So voters in America are going to drive what the president decides to do, and I think he realizes that this is an area of vulnerability. He ran largely on peace in the Middle East. So I think he's going to give a little extra attention to this. And I think there's going to be some rather big players in the Trump orbit that are deployed to oversee success on this. And then I think the other coin to this is that we need to realize that there's no path forward for Gaza to keep Hamas and their leadership in having any kind of favor with President Trump, or frankly, anybody in the Western Hemisphere for that matter. So I think those are two things that we need to realize, but it is very fragile. I think there's a lot of not just political implications in America, but geopolitical implications with a number of different countries. So it's the stakes are very high, and it should be very interesting to see how the next round of this plays out.
Indeed. Stay on with us. Meanwhile, also joining us is Professor Andrew Latham, international relations expert from Minneapolis. Thank you as well for taking out time and speaking to us on NewsX World. As I mentioned earlier, and I've been discussing with Mr. Hitchcock, we've been seeing these sporadic incidents of firing taking place where Palestinians have been losing their lives. There was an IDF soldier also reported to have lost his life in combat during these incidents of violence that have been taking place. How do you view what's happening on the ground? The ceasefire at large is still in place. There are, of course, other issues that Trump had mooted during his original 20-point plan, such as the disarmament of Hamas, the withdrawal of Israeli troops that are yet to be discussed.
Yes, I think the best way to characterize what's going on the ground now in Gaza is that we're in a kind of gray zone. It's not open warfare the way it was before this deal was struck, and it's not the kind of complete ceasefire that was envisioned in the deal. It's somewhere in between. Low-level exchanges, periodic rocket fire, sometimes Israeli airstrikes, etc. So far, these have not derailed the broader ceasefire/peace process. But they have the potential to do so if it gets out of control. Thus far, not so far. And it's important to realize the limiting factor here is that the Israelis have no interest in seeing this escalate out of control. And so are very limited in their response and retaliation to these attacks on the part of Hamas fighters and perhaps others. And the Palestinian people have no vested interest in seeing this war continue. They would like it to end. They would like the peace process to unfold as envisioned. The only spoiler in all of this is Hamas, which cannot relish the prospect of being disarmed in phase 2 of this peace process and cannot relish being banished to the sidelines, beyond the sidelines of Gaza's politics. So if there's a spoiler at play here in this gray zone, it's Hamas, not Israel, not the Palestinian Authority, and not the broader Palestinian people.
Indeed, a quick follow-up on that note. We, in fact, were tracking some updates earlier. An Israeli security official stated that U.S. forces are now helping coordinate and oversee aid transfers to the Gaza Strip. The U.S.-led Civil Military Coordination Center, the CMCC, has commenced its operations. It will be managing the aid flows and stabilization of security. It will be deciding what aid enters Gaza and how. We've seen up so far international organizations such as the United Nations. It had earlier warned of a famine. It also says that the aid that is currently reaching the people whose homes have been destroyed practically is not enough. The IDF maintains that it is allowing 600 trucks on an average per day, but UN has pegged that the actual figure that should be allowed is something around 1,000 to be specific. We have also seen instances of Hamas misappropriating the aid that is meant for the Gazans on the ground. How do you think all of this can then now be tackled with the involvement, the active involvement of the US CMCC?
Well, some of the impediments to the delivery of aid are beyond the control of the United States. The infrastructure, roads, bridges, etc., is destroyed to a large degree. That makes it difficult to deliver aid. And then, as you very charitably characterized, that Hamas is misappropriating some of these aid deliveries as well. Could Israel and the international community up its game? Yes. Will the infrastructure situation improve? Yes. And one hopes that Hamas will be further sidelined in all of this and will not be in a position to misappropriate this aid going forward. If those three things come into play, then the crisis, the humanitarian crisis being experienced by the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip might be mitigated to some extent, or will be mitigated to some extent. But it remains to be seen just how quickly, if at all, those three elements, those three ingredients can be added to the mix. America's commitment is beyond doubt, and America's ability to quarterback this, to use an Americanism, is, I think, also beyond doubt.
Indeed, requesting you to stay on with us as we're tracking further updates.